Good morning. How's everyone doing today? Hopefully, everyone is doing well. And I'm here today to talk about some American history. So let's just get right to it. Now, this speech that's called the Report on the Disease and Peculiarities of the Negro Race by Dr. Samuel A. Cartwright. Now, Dr. Cartwright, he was born in Virginia. He was a prominent physician that was well known for his medical treatment of the Negroes. Now, Dr. Cartwright, he practiced in Virginia. He later on moved to Mississippi, where he ultimately landed in Louisiana. Now, it is in Louisiana where he gave this speech on March 12, 1851, in front of the Medical Association of Louisiana. Now, eventually, this speech will get published in the New Orleans Medical and Surgical Journal. Now, let's be clear. This is definitely a racist speech. Now, in this speech, this is where Drapetomania is introduced for the first time. Now, Drapetomania is the mental illness. I can't even say it with a straight face. Drapetomania is the mental illness that the enslaved blacks had that caused them to flee captivity. Right. Drapetomania is the mental illness that black enslaved individuals had to cause them to flee captivity. As if working sun up to sundown in the fields and getting whippings wasn't enough motivation, right? Right. Now, the purpose of this speech was to explain the reason for slaves running away and to offer a remedy. Now, one of the remedies that he put forth was the good old-fashioned whipping, to whip the devil out of them. Now, in extreme cases, he put forth to cut the toes off to prevent them from running away. Now, I don't know how that's a remedy, but he definitely put it forth. Now, what I'm about to do now is play the actual speech. It's about 4 minutes long. I actually AI clone my voice. That way I don't do a million takes on this speech. It's about 4 minutes long. And so once we get through it, I'll come back and expound on it for a little bit. All right. Give me 1 second. Be right back.
Diseases and Peculiarities of the Negro Race. Diseases and Peculiarities of the Negro Race by Dr. Cartwright in DeBow's Review, Drapetomania, or the disease causing Negroes to run away. It is unknown to our medical authorities, although its diagnostic symptom, the absconding from service, is well known to our planters and overseers. In noticing a disease not heretofore classed among the long list of maladies that man is subject to, it was necessary to have a new term to express it. The cause in the most of cases that induces the Negro to run away from service is as much a disease of the mind as any other species of mental alienation, and much more curable as a general rule. With the advantages of proper medical advice strictly followed, this troublesome practice that many Negroes have of running away can be almost entirely prevented, although the slaves be located on the borders of a free state within a stone's throw of the abolitionists. If the white man attempts to oppose the deity's will by trying to make the Negro anything else than the submissive knee-bender, which the Almighty declared he should be, by trying to raise him to a level with himself, or by putting himself on an equality with the Negro, or if he abuses the power which God has given him over his fellow man by being cruel to him, or punishing him in anger, or by neglecting to protect him from the wanton abuses of his fellow servants and all others, or by denying him the usual comforts and necessaries of life, the Negro will run away. But if he keeps him in the position that we learn from the Scriptures he was intended to occupy, that is, the position of submission, and if his master or overseer be kind and gracious in his hearing towards him without condescension, and at the same time ministers to his physical wants and protects him from abuses, the Negro is spellbound and cannot run away. According to my experience, the genuflexit, the awe and reverence, must be exacted from them, or they will despise their masters, become rude and ungovernable, and run away. On Mason and Dixon's line, two classes of persons were apt to lose their Negroes, those who made themselves too familiar with them, treating them as equals, and making little or no distinction in regard to color, and, on the other hand, those who treated them cruelly denied them the common necessaries of life, neglected to protect them against the abuses of others, or frightened them by a blustering manner of approach when about to punish them for misdemeanors. Before the Negroes run away, unless they are frightened or panic-struck, they become sulky and dissatisfied. The cause of this sulkiness and dissatisfaction should be inquired into and removed, or they are apt to run away or fall into the Negro consumption. When sulky and dissatisfied without cause, the experience of those on the line and elsewhere was decidedly in favor of whipping them out of it, as a preventive measure against absconding or other bad conduct. It was called whipping the devil out of them. If treated kindly, well fed and clothed, with fuel enough to keep a small fire burning all night, separated into families, each family having its own house, not permitted to run about at night to visit their neighbors, to receive visits or use intoxicating liquors, and not overworked or exposed too much to the weather, they are very easily governed, more so than any other people in the world. When all this is done, if any one of more of them at any time are inclined to raise their heads to a level with their master or overseer, humanity and their own good require that they should be punished until they fall into that submissive state which it was intended for them to occupy in all after time, when their progenitor received the name of Canaan or submissive knee-bender. They have only to be kept in that state and treated like children, with care, kindness, attention, and humanity, to prevent and cure them from running away.
All right, so I'm back. Now, you heard it, right? So the reality is this right here. It's just a simple attempt to use religion to justify and continue using slavery, right? That's all it was. Here's a quote. When he said, if the white man attempts to oppose the deity or God's will by trying to make the Negro anything else than the submissive need which the Almighty declared that he should be, by trying to raise him to a level with himself or putting himself on an equality level with the Negro. So as you can see right there, it was just trying to use religion to legitimize slavery. You know, this is basically what it was, just a way to legitimize oppression. Just like this book here. See this book right here? How to Make a Negro Christian. A very controversial book. Now, this book here was written by Dr. Colcock Jones. And basically what this book is basically, this book goes over the violent introduction of Christianity to the Africans. And it also goes over the indoctrination process that the Africans went through to strip them of their identities and turn them into Negro Christians. Now, you have to understand that a lot of the Christians really had never heard of, a lot of the Africans had never really heard of Christianity prior to coming to the Americas. Here's a quote, actually. Because, let me clarify that. A lot of them hadn't heard of Christianity because Christianity hadn't penetrated the entire continent of Africa. So here's a quote right here by Amos Wilson. We must keep in mind that the enslaved Africans were not Christians when they were brought to the New World. They were predominantly practitioners of their indigenous African religions and behaved in accordance with the indigenous Africans' ethic codes. That's just one. And, because you hear a lot of people say, Christianity been in Africa. It comes from Ethiopia. Here's one more quote that actually puts all that to rest. Let's see, right here. This is where a enslaver is talking about, the complaints and stuff, the complaints that he's having, converting them. A number of them do not go to church and cannot tell us who Jesus Christ is, nor have they ever heard of such as the Ten Commandments or had it read or explained to them. Right? So that right there, this is a great book right here. This is actually a reprint with actual analysis of the original book, which is called the Religious Instructions of the Negro. So, yeah, the violent introduction to Christianity, all that good stuff. Let me get back on track here. So, all this is pre-Civil War, right? All this is pre-Civil War, so you know all this was just like draped in racism. Now, in the South, a lot of the white people, they actually accepted a lot of the concepts of drapetomania, which is really kind of hard to believe, but they did. But they accepted it because it was better than accepting the reality that maybe the slaves just wanted freedom, and maybe that's why they was running away, and not because of a mental illness. Now, at this point, I want to say this right here. Hopefully, you guys like this information. And oh, one last thing. Yes, Drapetomania has been debunked. It's a relic of the past. So hopefully, you guys like this information. If you've never heard of this, hopefully you have learned something. And if you have heard of this, hey, appreciate you watching it again. If you like this information, please like, share, subscribe, and you guys hit that notification button. You guys have a nice day.